Okay. So stator, it is built with a stack of laminated steel, same thing like alternator. The inner periphery of the stator consists of slots to accommodate armature windings, and windings are star connected. All everything is literally available in the Sullivan and book. Rotor, salient or projecting pole type, and non-salient or cylindrical type, but most of the motors use salient pole type rotors. So everything is available in the book. Only thing you understand the concept. If you have any query, you can ask me. So reason for not self-starting. It is 50 hertz signal. Can anybody tell me quickly what is this time is? Can anybody tell me what is the time? Frequency is 50 hertz, and what is the time? Okay, this is 20 millisecond. Okay, so this is 10 millisecond. So every 10 millisecond, the pole of the stator will change. Suppose the stator pole is north and south, the second half it becomes south and north. Third half it becomes again north and south. So it alternates between north and south pole for every 10 millisecond. But the rotor time constant is greater than this. So suppose you take a rotor time, this is greater than 10 millisecond. That means the response time of the rotor is far greater than the 10 millisecond. So it cannot cope up with the changing magnetic field. That's what you have to understand. So the speed of change of alternating poles is faster than the time constant of the rotor due to high inertia of the rotor. This you take it down. It is not there in the book. I mean exactly what it is. During the positive half cycle, the poles are created in the stator. So it's a positive half cycle. So now the upper pole is north, the down pole is south. Now north pole and north pole repel each other. It's always rotate in the anti-clockwise direction. Repulse in the anti-clockwise. So force is along the anti-clockwise. Before this rotor start rotating in the anti-clockwise direction, the fast transition, the 10 millisecond of the stator flux, the pole changes other way around. This goes to south and this goes to north, like this. So now the south pole will attract the north pole, and again in another third half cycle, it becomes north and north, it repulse. So this will happen oscillating in the same position. So it will not be able to move. That is why synchronous motor is called non-self-starting or not self-starting. So hence, due to high inertia of the rotor will not rotate. Initially, the rotor without DC excitation has to be rotated by external prime mover. When the rotor speed is nearer to the synchronous speed, the rotor is excited and the external prime mover is decoupled. Then it runs with the synchronous speed, N sync equal to 120 F by P, where P is the number of poles on the rotor. Anyway, the synchronous machine, both the stator pole and rotor pole are same. So what is the starting method? First we have to start the rotor, then from the external source drive the shaft. When the rotor is nearer to the synchronous speed, decouple the prime mover and supply the DC excitation, or give the DC excitation and remove the prime mover. It can be done very quickly. That procedure was everybody wrote when I am asking why it is not self-starting. That procedure, you can look at the book, it is clearly given. Okay. Now the starting of synchronous motor, we have a book, you can look at it. Page number 286 to 288. There are 4 methods given using pony motors. That means you have a 2 ends of the motor. One is the driving side, another one is the non-driving side. So in the non-driving side, you have a motor. So the pony motor is an induction motor. So now remove the DC supply from the field, short circuit it, run the pony motor, make the rotor to run. When it is the speed of the rotor is coming to the synchronous speed, give the DC excitation to the rotor and decouple the motor. This is called pony motor, using pony motor. And second one is damper winding. Now here the rotor is made like a squirrel cage motor in the induction motor. The damper winding, that means the copper bars are placed. The copper bars are sorted in the both the sides of the rings. Now it starts as an induction motor. Once this rotor attains the speed, then give the DC supply. Then it start running as a synchronous motor. Third one is, that is a squirrel cage. Now it is a slip ring. Start as a slip ring motor. Take some windings and keep it as a through the slip ring. Use a rheostat, connect the rheostat, supply some currents through it. See that it is running as a slip ring induction motor. Once it is attained the speed, then you can remove the prime mover. Now you can have a question. Why should we do this, sir? Already we have a motor, the induction motor, let it run. but induction motor is not running at the synchronous speed, number one. Number two, all the motor, when the load is given, speed is going down. Whereas the synchronous motor, speed is not going down, it is constantly maintaining the speed with the frequency. That is very, very important. Got it? Other motors, when it loaded, the speed will go down. Whereas here, instantly it go down, but finally it matches the speed. The synchronous motor run at a constant speed in synchronization with the frequency of the supply. That is why we prefer synchronous motor. Somehow we started and leave it. Fourth one is using a DC machine coupled to it. Here the advantage is that the DC machine first runs as a DC motor. Once the rotor attains the synchronous speed, this will work as a DC generator. The voltage from this can be fed into the DC circuit of the rotor. That means energize the magnet. That is important. So four methods are given here and you can read the book. The induction, first one is induction motor. It starts and decoupled. Damper winding, you don't have any other motor to it. The rotor itself made as a squirrel cage rotor and start running as induction motor. Then after obtaining the speed, it will become a synchronous motor. Third one is it runs as an induction motor as a slip ring and attains the speed and become a synchronous motor. Third one is external DC motor is given. It runs the rotor and after the rotor attains the synchronous speed, the same machine can be used for exciting the magnets. Kausalya madam, what do you mean by no, sir? Okay. So then,
No doubt, sir.
okay then,
Clear, sir.
the one question is there. We have this difficulty and you are, would you want to start the motor with the induction, then go to the synchronous? The reason is, main reason is, wherever you want any situation, you want the motor for a constant speed, irrespective of the load, you need synchronous motor. That is why. That is the only reason we are starting as induction motor and run as a synchronous motor, because we need a constant speed motor irrespective of the load on the motor. That's very, very important. You can note it down. Then power flow in synchronous motor. Input root 3 VL IL cos phi, and we said already in general it is going to be a star connected. So root 3 V phase and I phase. If it is a star connected, the V phase will be equal to VL by root 3. So then root 3 VL IL cos phi. If it is a delta connected, I phase will be equal to IL by root 3. Again the same equation will come. So stator copper loss 3 I square APH. APH means rotor armature current, stator armature current per phase. RA is the armature resistance per phase. So A represents armature. Then IAPH is the current per phase. Gross mechanical power developed, PM equal to PIN minus stator copper loss. Then the gross mechanical torque is equal to PM by omega S, that's equal to Pin into 60 divided by 2 pi N sync. If you take page number 294, which everything is given, that the efficiency equal to P out by P in. So P out is PM minus mechanical loss. Then P out by P in is your efficiency. But this is not very simple, but there are some equations that I don't want to confuse you, but they will not ask much about it. So if anybody interested, you can go through the uh, page number 292 to 294. Go through that, and if you want, you can understand that. And also in page number 295, I forgot to include this slide. There is a one comparison between synchronous motor and induction motor. That is very, very important. Comparison of synchronous motor with induction motor. That is synchronous motor versus induction motor. So this you read from page number 295. Synchronous motor versus induction motor, page number 295, or in the slide also it is available. Not this slide, the slide whatever PPT whatever I sent to you, that contains this. Shall we move? Okay. Now I go to the stepper motor. I start with the advantage of the stepper motor. So for this you read the complete NPTEL material that gives a lot of insight into it, but today I'll give you some concept to understand. Compatible with the digital system. Stepper motor is works on the digital pulses, so it is compatible with the digital system. No sensor is required to sense the speed and position. Why you are studying is the BLDC, what we are going to do, that needs sensor. That's why we write it here. Motors are available in large power ratings at reduced cost. This again given in the book, available in the book. Motors are available with torque range of 0.5 millinewton to 100 newton meter, used to upgrade mechanical systems for a greater precision and production rate. The production rate means manufacturing large numbers of products out. That's called production rate. It always comes with a numerical lathe. Applications. Computer peripherals like printers, disk drives, XY plotters, scientific instruments, and machine tools. Quartz crystal watches. Supporting roles in manufacture of packed foods, commercial end products, and production of science fiction movies. Again available in the book. a construction. Stepper motors are normally of two types. One is permanent magnet and another one is variable reluctance. Permanent magnet, the magnet will have a north and south pole. But in the variable reluctance means we already said the current will flow through the shortest path. That means low resistance path. Likewise, the magnetic field also, like the flux will flow through the shortest path. So on that principle, variable reluctance motor will work. The excitation voltage is DC. Number of phases indicates the number of windings. In both cases, the excitation windings are in the stator. Permanent magnet with the number of poles. Cylindrical rotor with a number of projected teeth. Their poles will be actually available. Here only teeth are available. When they come nearer to the stator teeth, they will have a less path, a less resistance to the flux. This you can note it down. This I am giving it in a nutshell. The big paragraph I have taken this notes. You can note it down. Excitation voltage is always DC and the stator is only excited. Okay, this is the two phase, two pole. So there are two phases are there. A1, A2 is one phase, B1, B2 is another phase. So it is a two phase, two pole permanent magnet stepper motor, or sometimes called as a step motor. So you read completely module 7, lesson 32 of NPTEL material. You can understand it, but now you take this. A1, A2, B1, B2 are switched in sequence. Then the pole will have it. Pole will be created in the stator. So depending upon the pole, suppose a north and north, it attracts the south pole, so it stay in between. So that is the one. Okay, this circuit is only to show you that how it is. If it is north and north, see that north here and north here. This is south is in between 45 degrees. Okay, so likewise we switch the motor. So when this is N, this will become S. When this is N, this will become S. That is not given here, but you see that. Okay, now suppose I remove the voltage from A1, that means there is no pole, but there is a north pole here, so south will be attracted here. That means it will come like this. This is north, so this armature, this will become N like this. Or suppose the B1, B2 is not excited, then it will go like this. Clear? This is if A1, A2 not excited. This is the case B1, B2 not excited. Okay. Now because this is switching. Look at it here. Suppose I close the switch Q1 and Q2. I close this Q1 and Q2. Now the current will flow like this. So A1 and A2 are excited, the current is flowing in this direction. So the A1 will become N and A2 will become S. That is what. Now I suppose I close switch Q1 and Q3 and Q4. Suppose I close this Q3 and Q4. What is happening now? Look at it here. The current will flow like this. It is flowing in the other direction. So this will become south, this will become north. A1 will become south and A2 will become north. And the same thing here. Suppose I close Q7 and Q8. Q7 and Q8, and close it. So the current will flow like this. That means this will become north, this will become south. So here you need to have switches such a way that the currents are diverted from positive to negative direction. And one more is called unipolar motor, where you'll have two windings. There is no switches, you have two windings, A11, A21 and A12, A22. That one winding current goes in a positive direction, in another winding current goes in the negative direction. Two sets of windings will be there. That we call it as unipolar. Only one voltage is used or no switches are used. Only that winding will be switched between. That's called unipolar. So now you take it here. S1 equal to 1 when Q1 and Q2 are closed. S1 is 1, Q1, Q2 are closed. S1 becomes -1 when Q3 and Q4 are closed, because the current flows in the opposite direction. Pole also will change. S2 equal to 1, Q7, Q8 is closed. So B2 become north, B1 becomes south. S2 equal to -1 when Q5 and Q6 are closed. Only the direction of the current will be changing. But other one I told you, unipolar, instead of having the switches, they allow two types of winding. In one winding current will be in one direction, and another winding current will be in another direction. It's called unipolar motors. Now look at it here. Case step 1, SC equal to S1 equal to 1, S2 equal to 0. That means no pole and south, north and south pole are available in the B1, B2. So S1 will 1 N. So it attracts the south pole of the permanent magnet, stay like that. If S2 equal to 1, already said B2 will become north pole. So north and north, it attracts south pole. So it is in the 45-degree direction. Third one, S1 equal to 0. That means no poles are created. S2 will be there. So it attracts like this. Here S1 become -1. That means A2 will become N A1 will become S. It's a switching. So now we have the 4 steps, and again another 4 steps will be there for south. So there are, this is called 8-step motor. For one full rotation, it takes 8 steps because 45-degree rotation, 360 divided by 45, it is 8. Clear? Now we take a two-phase stator and two-pole rotor. Stator pitch 360 divided by 4 because two-phase means 4 poles we have, right? North south, A1 A2 B1 B2. So we have 4 poles, so 90 degrees. Stator we have only 2 pole, that is 180 degrees. Now we have full step angle. That is the difference between, is not a minus and plus, it's the difference between stator and rotor. You take a positive only. 180 minus 90 gives you 90 degrees. It's called a full step angle. But what we seen is half step angle. So half step angle is 45 degrees. Okay, for this you calculate the theta S and theta R quickly. Somebody can give me that. It means two phase and 6 pole is given. Two phase and 6 pole permanent magnet stepper motor. You calculate theta S and you calculate theta R. ஏன் மேடம்?
சார் தெரியல சார், அதான் நோ ரெஸ்பான்ஸ். ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் என்னாச்சு?
என்ன பண்றாங்க? ஒரு அரை நிமிஷம் கூட ஆகாது.
நீங்க ஆன்சர் காமிச்சிட்டீங்க.
ஆமா, போட வேண்டியதானே, அவன் காட்ட வேண்டியதானே. ஏன் பண்ண மாட்டேங்கிறாங்க? Okay, very good. So theta is equal to 90. அப்போ நீங்க தான் கொடுத்துருக்கீங்க, ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் யாரும் கொடுக்கல. ஓகே. So number of poles is 490, poles is 6 here, 60. So full pitch is 90 minus 60, 30. It's only difference. So I given that, not minus. So off pitch is 15 degrees. Suppose we increase the number of poles, then again it will change. Then stepper motor, the specification is 4-phase, means it become 8 pole, become 8 stator poles. And supply voltage 12, power 5 watt, current 400 milliampere, 200 steps per revolution, because 1.8 degree or 0.9 degrees you can have a step angle. Resistance 30 ohm, inductance 23 millihenries, holding torque 2000 gram centimeter. That means moving 200 gram for 1 centimeter. Rotor inertia and shaft diameter. So here this motor, what you call permanent magnet unipolar. The unipolar means no switches, but you have a different winding for positive and negative currents. So it has a holding current. Suppose you leave the motor as it is, shaft will remain there itself. It will be holding the shaft in the same position whether the motor is in the voltage or not. But whereas in other one, reluctance, it will come to the original position. That's why there is no holding torque, whereas this way has a holding torque. So reluctance type stepper motor, they do not require reversing of current. That is important. Whereas the permanent magnet needs reversal of current. They do not have any holding torque. That's the only disadvantage. It does not have a holding torque. Once the motor is off, the shaft will come to the original position. Step angles are much smaller than 1.8 degrees. Rotor is a cylindrical soft iron core with projected teeth. When particular stator coil is energized, the rotor aligns itself such that one pair of teeth is along the energized stator coil at the minimum reluctance path. ஏய் மேடம் சொன்ன மாதிரி தான், எல்லாரும் ஆன் பண்ணி வச்சுட்டு எங்கேயோ போயிடுறாங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். என்ன மேடம், நீங்களும் போயிட்டீங்களா?
இல்ல இல்ல, அப்படிதான் சார் தெரியுது, நான் இருக்கேன், ஆடியோ மியூட்ல போட்டு.
அதான் மற்றவங்க எல்லாருமே வந்து ஏதோ ஆன் பண்ணி வச்சுட்டு போயிடுவோம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி போறாங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். சரி, ரைட், ஓகே. சரி, நமக்கு தெரியாத பேசக்கூடாது, அதுவும் தப்பு. பட் என்ன, அப்படின்னா அந்த மாதிரி யூடியூப்லாம் போட்டு காட்டுறதுனால சந்தேகம் வருது வேற ஒன்றும். ஓகே. Okay, now this is called a variable reluctance. Suppose you have a switching sequence. Suppose we say one is switched. So this I take it as a reference and I tell you how this is moving. So this is the reference. Now 1 and 2 are switched. This will move here. 2 is switched. This will move here. Then 2 and 3 is switched. This will move here like that. So when 2 is switched, it comes here. 2 and 3 comes here like that. It moves. So that's what sequence 1 and 1 and 2 are switched. Then 2, then 2 and 3 are switched. Then 3, then 3 and 1 are switched. Then 1. Likewise, the sequence will go. So it will start rotating in the clockwise direction. So here theta is totally 12 poles are there in the stator. So 3 phase into totally 4 are there. So 30 degrees, and this one has 8 poles, then 45 degrees, then the full angle is 15 degrees, and half step angle is 75, 7.5. So you can move this motor 7.5 degrees. If you increase the one, then we have a stacking. Suppose the same thing, suppose you have a rotor like this, you can stack it like this. Mean one more you can have. Same thing, you put it one after the other, one after other. So likewise here also you can have one more, you can put it in the back side of the one. So likewise you can stack it. Suppose you have a 3 stacking in the rotor, it becomes 24 teeth. 3 stack, this way we said is a single stack. Single stack we are given. Suppose you have a 3 stack, then rotor becomes 24. If there are 3 stack in the stator, it becomes 3 into 12, 36. Got it? If the 3 stack on the stator, 3 into 12, 36 will come. 3 stack on the rotor, it becomes 3 into 6, 18. So then your step will become very, very small. It's called micro stepping. So stacking means placing it one after the other with a slight angle change or slight angle offset. Okay. So for the reluctance motor, the step angle alpha is going to be 360 degree n into Tn, where n is the number of stack. Tn is the number of teeth on the rotor. So torque is equal to 1 by 2 I square dl by d theta. This is available in the book. So again, once again, I tell you what is the stack. Suppose you have a rotor like this, it have 4 teeth. I take the same type of rotor and place it before or after with a slight angle offset. Again, take one more, I place it here. Likewise, you can alternatively you can put it You can put as many number as possible. Okay, you can have a single core, but this also will have multiple rotor stackings. Okay. So three-phase single stack stepper motor. Already told you. If you want, you can keep the stacks as many as possible. That comes in the hybrid stepper motor. See that these are all the stackings. Here, one stack will have a north pole, another will have a south pole. Likewise, so that you'll have a more rotations. This is a rotor. This is the stator and rotor placed. See that one will be north, another will be south at the end. So if you have in the stacking, you can have more number of steps. It's also available in the book. So full step angle is theta equal to 360 divided by NR into NS. The NR means rotor teeth, you have to completely count it when you are putting in the stack. Otherwise, you write the number of stack into a single stack number of teeth. So micro stepping means, suppose this is about your 10 degree, you can go to 1 degree, 1/16 of the degree, 1/30 of the degree, likewise. So this is also possible with the stepper motor. So it provides a finer resolution. So now we go to the brushless DC motor. So in the DC motor, you have brush and commutator. This is the reverse of it. We do not have any commutator and brush, but we have electronically activated commutator. BLDC motor is equivalent to a reversed DC commutator motor. In commutator motor, magnet remains stationary and conductor rotates. Here, magnet rotates and conductor remains stationary. BLDC motor incorporates either internal or external position sensor to sense the rotor position. Unless otherwise you know where the rotor is, you cannot rotate it. So by knowing the position, the stator will be excited with the voltage. Brushes are absent. The commutation is done electronically. Is again available in the book. What are the advantages we have over the DC motor, induction motor? Better speed versus torque characteristics. Speed versus torque characteristics. 2. Faster dynamic response. That means time constant is very less. Given the input, it will be activated. High efficiency. Long operating life. Noiseless operation. No noise will be there. You would have seen that when motors are running at home or elsewhere, sound will be there. Sound will be there. That sound will not be here. higher speed ranges, high ratio of torque delivered to size of the motor. Though the motor size is less, torque will be more. This is useful in applications where space and weight are critical. In a space vehicles, they will use BLDC motors because the space occupied by the motor is very less. Disadvantage: it requires complex drive circuitry for its operation, needs additional Hall sensors to sense the position of the rotor. Control of BLDC motor requires expensive electronic controllers. Drive circuitry is different, controlling is different. BLDC motor comes in single phase, two phase and three phase configurations. Okay. Three phase motors are the most popularly and widely used and will be discussed here. The main parts of BLDC motors are: 1. Stator and stator windings. 2. Permanent magnet rotor. 3. Hall effect sensor. 4. Switching circuits and control circuits. So there are 5 units or 4: stator winding, permanent magnet rotor, Hall effect sensor, and switching circuits and control circuits. Anyway, you read the complete material, the NPTEL. So this is the one, this is the stator electromagnet, and the inside is a rotor. There are Hall effect sensors. It's a permanent magnet rotor available in the book. Okay, outside stator, inside rotor. It comes as a two configurations also. The rotor also may be outside and stator will be inside. That is given in the book. That also you can see that. Okay, stator inside and rotor outside. That is also given in the book. That also you can see that. See that this is the another view. In a drawing, you say what is that projected view? Shaft is stator winding, and you have that this is the permanent magnet rotor. These are all the Hall sensors. 3 Hall sensors are used in general. So RYB is connected, BB dash, R dash, YY dash. 3-phase connection, and rotor is rotating. It's a schematic diagram. Again available in the book. So the stator consists of again stacked steel lamination with the windings placed in the slots that are axially cut along the inner periphery of the stator. Stator windings are connected in star. Each of these windings are constructed with numerous interconnected coils. These windings are distributed over the slot periphery to form an even number of poles. As their name indicate, this motor is also called trapezoidal motor because the driving voltage will be in the form of trapezoidal, that I'll show it to you later. Okay, this will be like this. Driving voltage will be like this. It's what's called trapezoidal motor. So back EMF was also in the form of trapezoidal back EMF. So name is a trapezoidal motor because of the driving voltages are trapezoidal. So voltage supplied by switching circuits are in the trapezoidal form. So the rotor is made of permanent magnet. It can vary from 2 to 8 pole pairs. That means 2 means 4 pole, 8 means 16 pole, north and south poles. Ferrite magnet were traditionally used to make permanent magnets, but it has a low flux density. Because of that, we will use rare earth materials and alloys of rare earth materials. Hence, in new design, rare earth alloy magnets are universal. Alloy materials have high magnetic density per volume and enables using a smaller size rotor and stator for same torque, available in the book. So neodymium, samarium cobalt, and the alloy of neodymium, ferrite, and boron are some examples of rare earth alloys. So neodymium, ferrite, boron are generally used NdFeB. This is again you can write this capital B. So rare earth magnets are used only because they have high density for a given volume. So this is available in the handout. That's the module 7, lesson 35. There are 3 type of rotor. One is magnets will be on the periphery. Another one is it will be embedded into the rotor, or they will insert the magnets on the periphery. There are 3 types. Circular core with magnets on the periphery, circular core with rectangular magnets embedded in the rotor, circular core with rectangular magnets inserted into the rotor core. To rotate rotor, the stator windings should be energized in a sequence. Hence, knowing the position of the rotor is important. That will be identified by the Hall effect sensors. So, position of the rotor is calculated or computed by the Hall effect sensor. There are 3 sets of sensors are available. 3 Hall sensors are embedded into the stator on the non-driving end of the motor. Whenever the rotor magnetic poles pass near the sensors, they develop high or low signal indicating the N or south pole is passing near the sensor. You can have a circuitry. If the voltage is going high, you can say north pole. Voltage is going low, you can say south pole. Depending upon your logic, positive logic or negative logic, you can decide upon it. Either you can have high signal as a north or high signal as a south, low signal as a north or low signal as a south. But you have to decide upon what type of logic you are going to use. So that will be decided by the Hall sensor. Depending upon that, now they know where the North Pole and where the South Pole are. Then they start rotating in the clockwise direction, giving correct voltage to the phases ROIB. Based on the combination of the Hall sensor, the exact sequence of the commutation can be done. So working of a BLDC motor. See, position of the rotor will be identified by the Hall sensor, and giving voltage to the coil is decided by the circuitry. So the voltage will be in the form of trapezoidal. So R is from 0 to 120 degrees, then goes down and comes at 360. YB vary like that and BR vary like this. So depending upon the position of the rotor, which coil has to be rotated. Suppose the rotor is like this, R dash and Y dash. Then now you have to move, then Y dash to B dash has to be energized. So then they will look at it here, this voltage will be given. Or look at here R and Y. Now it has to be Y and B are energized. So Y and B will be energized with these voltages. So depending upon the position of the rotor, the voltage will be decided. So now the stator is between R and Y. Next you have to start from Y to B. Then Y will be given voltage like this and B will be given voltage like this. Then it starts moving. So this is the another control circuitry, give the voltage. For a simple example, look at it here. First A phase you take it or R phase you take it. Current flow from this Q1 is on. So that means this switch is on. Q1. This Q1 switch is on. Okay, then the current flow like this. It goes like this. Go to A, then B, then comes here. That means Q6 is on. Goes to ground. So here Q1 and Q6 on. Likewise, you can decide upon the which phase has to be excited, that you can do that. So this is again available in the handout. Please read the handout. I think we'll come to the end of the one. So applications are computer hard disk, electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles, electric bicycles, industrial robo, domestic appliances, washing machines, fans, dryers, compressors, pumps and blowers. Again available in the book. I think we come to the end of this session, and by Monday we will be briefly discussing on measurements and instrumentation and measuring instruments. Okay, thank you.
தேங்க்யூ சார்.